What's going on, everybody? ABJ back here again for another episode of the ABJ Podcast. These are all over the place. So episodes that you've seen record at one time and that time, you guys know the deal. It's been a crazy turn of events. This one is going to be a lot of them you guys been hearing. We're in October. We're now in November of 2023. This won't air till February. So thank you all also for the continued support. I want to give a huge shout out to Raz Darkwolf. I'll have his links below. This recording would not have happened without him. He's hooking me up with his StreamYard for this episode and maybe a couple others that we may record from now till then, just so I can get my backlog of content out there so I can start a new job. That's been super exciting. My body's sore, my mind's beat up, but we're getting through. We're back on the path of making some money, getting a car back so you guys can see me at wrestling shows. But yeah, a lot of cool things going on. So I appreciate you guys for the support. Next week's episode is going to be kind of back in October. It's time traveling. It's all over the place, but we're getting there. Just started doing the 5 questions with ABJs. I recorded about 30 of those, so they'll be going from now to the end of the week. Every 2 weeks, 3 a day we drop, and you'll already have all seen these by the time they drop. So that's been kind of new. The vlogs getting going again, and we're starting the pop culture reviews. So we're gonna do some old movie reviews and all that. That's coming soon. So a lot of stuff. Getting a better headspace, get mentally and physically. Very excited. Merchandise pages are up and running. Public, Teespring, Brainbusters tees, and Pro Wrestling tees. Links are below to support me. Or please do go support my guests and all their adventures and everything they got going on their merch pages and following them on social media. Just show that support. Without further ado, I'm going to bring in my guests for 101. So this is it. We've conquered that mountain of 100 episodes, and we're on to the next 100. And what a way to kick it off. Love this dude. Been seeing him since the days of Outbreak Wrestling and traveling on through. But let's bring in, without further ado, Robb Radke. What's going on, bud?
Hey, what's happening?
Not much, man. Super excited to have you on. We finally did it. We locked the date down. Every life I've been pushing you off. I appreciate you being super patient, and we finally got it done.
Yeah, it's all good.
What's been new with you, brother? It's been a minute.
Not a whole lot. I guess since the last time we spoke a lot. No longer a goon. I don't know. I'm just vibing.
Yeah. I think the last time we seen was at a High Tension, the 90s theme show, as I think the last time I saw you, and that's when you officially ended that chapter of the Goons. When you look back on that, fond memories, bad memories. I know the ending may have been a sour taste, but what is your overall experience of your run with the Goons?
Overall positive, I can't, I'll never be able to discount or take away anything from my time with the Goons. I mean, I'll never take anything away from them. They're some of the most talented people in the world. And they helped me a great deal. There's no way, absolutely no way I'm where I'm at without the Goons.
Yeah, that's why I would say you have been putting in your work as well outside of the Goons, and I think you were brought in. They don't just bring anybody into the Goons. You're not a scrub or someone who's not on their level if you're getting welcome into that team. So you forged your path, but I think it was a match made in heaven when it was going good for that team, and I thought you were an amazing addition to it. I have a lot of good memories. Some of them we'll never see because footage has been erased because that's pro wrestling, but lost footage. I don't know if you've ever heard, but Rob can sing his ass off. That's all I'm gonna say. That's a clip that's probably will never be seen again in the locker room of a church. We'll just say.
That
one. Great moment, but yeah, man. So it was a fun run. Unfortunately, you're going your own path now. So what are you looking forward to now? Since now not being a Goon.
I'm just looking forward to whatever, happens to come my way. I don't have anything I'm really hoping to get out of it more than just, I'm just trying to get everything I possibly can out of professional wrestling before my body can't, do it anymore. Now, I'm not saying I'm anywhere near that. I'm just saying tomorrow's promised to no one. I'm just, trying to enjoy myself, seeing what I can do on my own. Like, I want to know if I fail miserably, I want to know that, and I'm okay with that. If I succeed by myself, even better, obviously. But just got a lot to kind of experience for myself.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I really enjoyed with you that I didn't really get to do much with the Goons is you always ask people in the Goons, like, man, did you watch the last pay-per-view? And they're like, yeah, we don't watch wrestling. like they just completely erase that from their lexicon. They're in the business, but don't give a shit about the business. You are someone who travels and goes to a ton of shows, whether it be independently or pay-per-views on both brands. Like you are in this, like you're a fan just as much as you are a performer. I mean, you've been to tons of manias. Like, I can't even list through all the pay-per-views and events you go to. How is it being someone who is how do you tote the line of being a performer and performing in a lot of these big venues and with a lot of cool people, and then tote the line of being a fan as well?
I think I just kind of stopped toting the line, really.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just, I don't know, a headspace thing of where I'm at, but being a fan is something that's very important to me. And I understand why people kind of disconnect themselves from that. I totally get it. But I also am of the understanding, like, I might not get signed, right? Like, that's not, at this point, that's really not even where my head is at. So why would I deprive myself of just fully enjoying the things that I enjoy? Musicians get big and still listen to music, right? Like, I don't know. I couldn't imagine not being a fan. And I actually, I kind of regret the first few years of me being a professional wrestler and shedding that or shying away from it, because that was what you did. It wasn't cool to be a fan. And now I'm kind of at fuck that. I love wrestling, so I'm gonna go watch a wrestling show.
That's honestly my goals once I get a car and get going again back in 2024 is, like, if I don't get booked, like, pretty much my bookings are done. There's really nowhere I'm looking to perform or do anything at. If they need me on commentary or backstage, I'll do it if it makes sense and there's something fun there. But, like, the production side and running around and killing yourself and doing all that, like, that was a blast, and I got a lot of good experiences around, met a lot of cool people. But I think I've built my brand up enough that I can walk into a place, I've earned the respect of the locker room, and be like, hey, I'm at the show hanging out, can I pull you aside real quick and record something? And I can still go get content, but then also enjoy the show and kind of be a fan again. But also, instead of going there and working and never getting anything for myself, because I don't really bother people when I'm like, so if I get brought in for a show like High Tension or something, I'm High Tension. I'm not the ABJ podcast. I'm there for High Tension. Anything they need, it's all for them. And then I come home and I'm like, man, that'd have been cool if I would have recorded something with somebody that day. And there's nothing against them. It's just like I have to reevaluate that a little bit. And how you were saying, it's like you kind of go to shows that ones you're not booked at or not working at. And it's just like, I don't want to be that fan, or I don't want to. It's like, no, man, I'm letting those inhibitions go. Like, I went to that Wembley show and I was just like, for 2 years, I kind of made myself not a fan, or I didn't try to enjoy it as much as I did, or I looked at it too critically and I overanalyzed everything. And I was like, oh, that booking is bad. Like, who cares? Just let it happen and see what happens and see where the story takes you. It's like, it's the only industry where people are so critical of that. Like, I don't do it in video games. I don't do it when I go watch a movie. I don't do it when I listen to an album. I just accept for what the artist gives me and I enjoy it. But in wrestling, it's like you're washed to do it backwards. Like, I could do it better.
Yeah. I try. It's hard not to overanalyze when you're so deep in the woods, but
yeah,
I guess my line is just, I don't complain about it. Like, if I don't like, so, like, it does me no good to like tweet about wrestling on TV or anything like that. It's just, if I don't like something, I just shut the fuck up and move on to the next thing, because I'm sure
it's tough.
The next thing or whatever.
It's tough when, like, for example, just recently, and I know not recently when this airs, but like people were shitting on Naya. I love Naya. If she's on my TV, I'm happy. I think she deserves to be in the business. I think she's a great character, a great presence. But people are like, she's unsafe and she's hurting people. And look, she hurt 3 more people. I'm like, it's all storyline. Would you shut the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, it's part of the story. They're trying to make you mad, but you can't have those conversations with people because you don't want to root for them either. You know what I mean? Like telling kids that mythical creatures aren't real anymore, you know?
Yeah.
So just like, all right, enjoy that, guys. I'm gonna be over here laughing and watching it from, I guess, perspective of watching somebody else have a good time. I think is another layer of how to handle that. But let's rewind a little bit. What's your earliest memory of falling in love in this industry or this business?
So I don't remember which pay-per-view it was, but I had an uncle that lived with me who was watching whatever, and it was The Undertaker versus Yokozuna. Now I don't know if it's Royal Rumble, I don't know if it's SummerSlam, I don't know which, but
Was it the casket match?
I believe it was a casket match, but I just remember The Undertaker and was like in awe of everything, the whole presentation. It was like, this is, and my uncle was like a huge Undertaker fan, so it was like, all right, this is the shit. So I mean, from then on, it was just wrestling. That's all it was. It was, football, basketball, whatever. It was always wrestling.
Yeah, that pay-per-view, if it's the same one with the casket match where like the entire locker room beats him up and then as they're carrying out, they do the camera shot inside the casket and his eyes open. I had a friend who couldn't watch like anything remotely scary. Like he couldn't watch Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark? That's how sensitive he was. The Undertaker fucked that kid up. Like he could not handle the Undertaker. Like when the Undertaker came on, he would literally like hide. Like the Undertaker was a horror movie for him, and I was like, it was so exciting growing up. But that pay per view is very fond in my memory, just because his eyes open and he darted upstairs. He's like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore, and he took off. So yeah, that Yokozuna Undertaker, great rivalry. So did you play sports or were you always athletic? Was that mindset of like, I'm going to do this one day in the business always in your head?
Did I play sports? Yes. Was I always athletic? Absolutely not. I never made the basketball team. So if if you see me at a pickup game and think, oh, he's black, he probably played. Nah, I'm not.
You're the Stanley Hudson?
Yeah, I'm not your pick guy. I'll do my best, but I played football for like a couple years in high school. After that, I just kind of stopped. Like my grades weren't good, so I was just like, I don't know, why bother? And then I don't know. I was playing flag football for like a long time in my 20s. But no, that's my history with sports.
Flag football is low key really fun. I think it's insanely challenging. Like I don't know, yeah. I like it. Yeah. Was it like a one flag deal, or you have to take 2 to take someone down?
No, just one flag deal.
Just one.
And it was like, it wasn't a league, but it was a group of guys for like probably 3 years. Every Sunday during football season, we would start playing. We thought about joining a league or whatever, but we didn't like their rules, so it was just like, whatever. We're just gonna
let's make flag football a thing again, so we can save our bodies and still act like we're cool and play football.
I'm too old for that.
Like a real low speed. You ever see the walking routes so that people run where they have to like only walk at a walking speed and see if they can juke the other person out? Yeah, it's all over TikTok and stuff. It's just like walking routes, and it's really funny when someone gets got. But it's just walking speed flag football. That's all we need. It's just a really slow pace. But so transitioning from growing up and then finding, hey, I want to pursue the professional wrestling. How did you find your school? Where did you land? And what was that experience of your first couple of times at training and running the ropes and going that route?
So my very first experience was I went to a school here in Delaware. not long after graduation. I took my graduation money and put a down payment on wrestling training. I got like hurt, not injured. I got like hurt in a way that like kind of freaked me out, and I couldn't afford to keep doing it. A combination of things. So I just gave up. That was like 10 years before I actually started training. So I just saw a flyer on Facebook for a wrestling school, and at the time I was doing stand up for a bit, and I was like, oh, if I could do stand up, why can't I? Why wouldn't I be able to wrestle? And it was just like one of those things. I just want to see if I could have one match. Like that's all I am kind of shooting for. So I went. I worked second shift at the time, so I would skip my 15-minute breaks and take them at lunch so I could have a whole hour so I could like leave, go train for a little bit on the days that I was working, and then come back to work and work through the rest of my shift. And it was fucking exhausting, obviously, till eventually they kind of didn't let me do that at work anymore. So I got fired, lost my job to pro wrestling, which was miserable. But I don't know. I was enjoying it too much, you know. I kind of took to everything pretty easy, for whatever reason. Naturally, I'm not saying I'm a natural athlete or a natural wrestler or anything. Just everything in training, the fundamentals just kind of seemed to come easy to me, and I was just fascinated at this point because I was never a big, dirt sheet fan. I didn't know how the sausage was made or whatever. So the whole process is now fascinating to me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of how it was.
What was a moment for you as a fan? Hey, you said you didn't consider yourself like a smart fan. What was the first thing that you were taught that maybe seems basic, but then when you learned how the sausage was made, you're like, oh, that makes so much sense. I never put the two together.
I don't know really. I just I don't know what you mean by like seemed basic, but
like for me, like I never knew how much the refs were involved in a match until I learned like how like the hand checks, right? Like I didn't know that, or like how wrestlers talk to each other throughout the match. And then once someone taught me it, I was like, now I see it differently. Like I see them talking. I see like them checking on each other. I see the ref checking. Like I see it from a different angle instead of that pure standpoint where a fan doesn't really catch that stuff. Or as simple as a punch or slap the leg. You know what I mean?
I see probably the ref thing. How much the refs are involved in communication and stuff like that, or or even just like certain ways to communicate without having to scream at each other or whisper or anything like that.
Yeah. So it's special to me. You're always going to have that spot for me when it comes to my birth of independent wrestling, because when I first got into it, I was doing the content and I was doing it with another professional wrestler, Andy Header. And I kind of went to like one of my first shows, and you made your debut. But I guess you were there before. But it was the first time really being at that promotion and seeing stuff. So the bit was you wrestled in a Rumble type deal under a mask for the number one contendership. You took the mask off. I just remember everyone being mad that you won under a mask. And I was like, well, why is everyone angry? And they're like, oh, he's the bad guy. And I was like, okay. And then that kind of spawned the rivalry between you and Andy. Now, I'm still learning the business and learning how the sausage is made, but not so much in a training aspect, but through somebody else. And you are that first person of like, I was trying to learn how to be a fan, and I was being a fan, but I was also learning how the sauce is made, but also trying to be a good friend. And I'm like, oh, why are you losing this week? Like, you know what I mean? But you were that first rivalry that I had to learn the business aspect of like, they're both cool people. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was for me early on, like you gave me that moment that I very cherish. And it was a very special time for me. And that rivalry and that story arc was really, really cool at Outbreak Wrestling. And you look back, like that show like had Ace Austin on it. And then Ace Austin went on to like kill the world. But like, you were the main aspect of that story at the end of the night, was you become the number one contender for Andy Hedder's championship. Like, so like that was fun to me. Like that's why I'm always really proud of like watching you still grind and do what you do, because like you were my introduction to like an aspect of wrestling that I'll never get back again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's sweet to hear. I look back on that time rather fondly. Kind of bittersweet, I guess, because and I would wrestle, if I could wrestle Andy Hedder every day, I would be fine. He's so easy to work with. I feel like we had chemistry, but I also like at that point in time, I was like jaded with the business and had let myself go physically and was not performing at a level that rivalry kind of deserved. Like I was not a good I don't know. I didn't give Andy Hedder the performance that he kind of deserved from me.
That's a fair assessment. That was so like I will say from that moment, and then I believe at that time, like after that rivalry, you said you weren't in a good headspace physically, mentally. You stepped away for a little bit again, and then when you were reemerged back more in the high tension scene is when I seen you come back. You worked on yourself mentally, physically. I mean, we're all not perfect. We're all still doing our best, but like you're even now you're different physique, and like you tell you're working at it, and you're cleaning up your head and everything like that. Like it's a different Rob than I've seen then till now. And it's when you're on your game, man, you're very good at what you do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I think the moment where my curtain fell down for you when I was like, I don't think I was ever angry or bitter with you, but I was still very conflicted as a wrestling fan, but then also being a smart fan. But when you won me over was at the firehouse in that little tiny hall where the locker room's up in that little corner and you could look through the little hole.
Yeah.
The show, I think there was blood or something crazy happened where they needed to fill time. And they're like, we just need to fill time. There's a gap here that we have to do something. And they just sent you out with a microphone and you cut a promo. And I don't remember exactly the premise of the promo or how it was done, but I just remember being like, holy fuck, that was a good promo. Like you cut a really, really good promo that night. And I was like, it took the rivalry to a completely another level. And it was just go out there and fill. And when you did your shit, I was like, oh, this guy's good. But that promo did have a lot of that. You can tell that you were not mentally there, or you're still, I mean, you might have even talked about it in the promo. You're like, I don't know, but it was powerful. It told the story, but also had some truth to it as well. Like I said, I can't recite most of it, but it was just, it meant something, that show. It was, and then I believe after that is when we went to the Hamburg Fieldhouse, and then you guys started like kind of concluded it there.
I don't remember. The only
it was a long ass time ago, like 4 years ago.
The only promo I remember really is they had me cut a promo on the pre-show at Ian Bush, and I like
that might have been it too. I remember he was starting to interject himself in the rivalry as well at that point.
I don't know, but I appreciate that. I often worry if my promos are hitting their mark, so I appreciate the feedback.
No, that was a good one. Now I don't want to bring up negative, but you also have a moment in wrestling for me that was one of the biggest flubs I've seen in wrestling. Not on your fault though. The ladder match, where they tied that shit with rope from Krypton. Not a small guy, but you put all of your weight on that title to rip that rope. I think it's still hanging there. I don't think they ever cut it down.
Yeah, and that's when I was fat.
I remember they were worried about the belt breaking because the belt was like getting tied.
Yeah, it was like I feel bad because someone like loaned them the belts because the belts that we eventually got hadn't come in yet or whatever. And like, when I finally got the rope undone, you can see like it was like cinched, like the belt, the leather was like rung up. It was tied very tightly. I don't
Yeah.
consider it a negative though. I mean, it that actually kind of confirmed for me my good headspace or where I was at mentally with wrestling, because I'm sure like, 3 years ago I would have been furious about, this happening. But it happened. It was, in my head, I'm just, how do I get out of this? What can I do?
Mm-hmm.
And my plan was, for anyone listening, not without the context, I was in a ladder match. They tied the belts very tightly with this rope hanging from the ceiling. And the ladder was barely tall enough for me to reach. So that was an
And
objective.
you're working with a handcuffed Trajan who, at any point in time, Trajan can go Trajan, and you can either take him seriously or he's going to break you.
Yeah. So I start pulling on these belts, and I'm like relieved that I could even reach them because I was worried. And I pull them and they don't come down. So then I'm, still trying to pull them. I try to reach up and untie them. Can't do that. So eventually I'm like, all right, I'm going to let my feet dangle, because in my head, I'm one of two things is going to happen. Either I'm going to get these belts down, or I'm going to dangle here and people are going to laugh at me because I'm the bad guy. So that works either way. That's what happened. They didn't come down with all my body weight. Luckily, the photographer had a pocket knife that he threw my tag team partner that we could fucking cut him
We were
down.
yelling from the side, someone get him a knife! Someone get him a knife!
Ended up on Botchamania, which didn't bother me because, again, it's out of my control. And I think that's a thing that, kind of helps me in this run I'm on right now. It's just like, nothing out of my control is something I should worry about.
Yeah, and that run, without getting into it unless you want to, like, there was a lot of opportunities that you had with that tag team title in that company that like would have been amazing moments. You know what I mean? Like, you had people that were going to come in that you were going to work. And I remember I kind of felt like a dickhead because I thought everyone knew what was going on because we talked about the show. You weren't giving the information. I felt like such a fucking prick. Like, I was like, oh, he fucking hates me. He fucking hates me. But like, you found out coming in that something wasn't going to happen that was supposed to happen. And just like, once again, a credit to your headspace at that time. You had that moment the show before, then this moment it was your payoff to get something here too, and it just didn't happen. And you're just like, it is what it is, man. Next, what do we do? How do we make it happen? And you still went out and performed and put on a great match. And I think that evolution then carrying into like the high tension story.
I remember it. It wasn't a great
it was good for what you guys were able to put together on a short time frame, because you didn't even know who your opponents were going to be.
That was one of those things where it was like, I knew it was bad. Like, I don't know. Sometimes you just like, you feel in your heart like that was bad, but then everyone's like real nice about it. Like Colby Carino was like, hey man, I really liked your match. I was like, man, you have to lie to me. He's like, nah,
it wasn't bad. You could. Yeah, it was giving the circumstance. I guess from a fan standpoint, you can say yes, maybe a bad match. But I guess this is where like the smart fan comes in, and the people in the back knew the circumstances of what you were dealt with going in. And I think a lot of us realized that like you put together something that should have been. If anybody else was in that situation and they were given those cards that you were dealt, that would have been a shit show. Like the crowd would have been like, "What the fuck was that?" Like, and you were given it, and you were like, you made the best scenario that can possibly happen in that situation that can possibly have came out of it.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I remember that was like the genuine like consensus backstage too. Like with like everybody was just like, wow, like he saved it. Like that was a good save. Like it was a positive note for what it was at that point in time.
Well, all's well that ends well, I guess.
Yeah. So when it comes to the professional wrestling world, what are some moments that you're fond of, or maybe some matches or people you worked with that will always stick in your head as some highlights?
The one I always go to now recently, anyone who saw Browmatica for PW Vibe, the Goons versus Edith Surreal, Trisha Dora, and Erica Lee. maybe my biggest highlight of my wrestling career, for several different reasons. It's just a very special night, special match. Everything was special about it. You know, love the Goons again. All things aside, the Goons are the best for a reason. I had a really great match with Dame Smith years ago at Outbreak. That was someone who was really cool to work with. Yeah, I'm quite charmed with wrestling right now.
Mm-hmm. Who is people on the list right now that you look at in the scene? You're like, I would love to have a match or a program. When I think of someone like you too, I always say, like, I don't want just a match. I don't want Rob versus insert name and it's a one-off, and then after the match is done, it's over. I think you really shine in those long storylines and those where you can work with someone who you can build a story with. And I think that's where makes you special. That's what I see you as, is just that long-term storytelling. Who's somebody in the scene right now that you would love to like work something out with like that?
So I've been angling for anyone with a pencil who would listen to me. I'm trying to get something going with Darius Carter. I think there's a
long list of people who want that storyline.
Oh no, trust me, I know, but
the guy's the GOAT right now.
O'Shea Edwards.
Yeah.
Anybody and everybody, really. You say, I don't want just a match, I want a story. Some matches are just matches. Some matchups or just need a match. That's all. And some, require more story, more context. But I believe there's a world for both. For me, like I love doing both. So I'm up for whatever.
Have you ever worked Devontae's yet? Like
not yet.
Singles?
Not yet. There's been a couple. What's that?
Or Deshaun Pratt?
Yeah, I worked with Deshaun Pratt at
Orochi, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. I do remember that. Yeah, it literally just hit my. There are two people too. I'd love to see them matched up, and I think you would have been a good matchup, especially you and Devontae's. I think would be a cool Haas fight.
Yeah, I've there's been a couple people promotions who have pitched it or lined it up, but then I couldn't make the date or whatever. But that's one that's I'd love to work with him.
Yeah. So also besides professional wrestling, what are some of your other passions? Obviously we have the entire old school Monday Night Raw in your house setup going on back there. You're a fig collector. You have a lot of other passions. So besides getting in the ring and wrestling, obviously it carries over to collecting. You do some photography. Follow him on Instagram too, by the way, after this episode's done. Very, very talented, multifaceted person. Good follow on social media. You see a lot of creative stuff, but let's talk about some of those things.
So I'm a big action figure collector. Do a little bit of photography just as a hobby. I got my cool setup back here. I kind of just try to live my life the way that 8-year-old me would think was cool.
I feel that so hard.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, imagine being 8 years old and walking in a room like this, fucking.
I lost my shit.
Big action figure guide. Legos. Build quite a few Lego sets. I wouldn't call myself a sneaker head. I think that's that and gamer. I feel are extreme labels. To be a gamer, you have to play X amount of hours of blah blah blah. No, I just like video games. I just like sneakers. I don't care about market research or any of that shit. I just like sneakers.
If I'm paying the money, they're going on my feet.
Big Swifty, obviously.
How do you feel about Kelsey giving her the rub?
Giving her the rub. All right.
we were at the sanctuary. They're having a drag show, and they played a Swift song, and I just like I know it was Taylor Swift, right? And I was just like, oh, is that the girl that Travis Kelce's dating? And like all our performers were like, how dare you? Yo, I knew she was popular, but wow, I didn't know to that extent. Like, she could probably run for president and win. I'm not even joking. Like, I honestly think, like, I don't want to make this political, but she made one post just in this recent, like the House and Senate elections, where she's like, yo, this is on the table. I'm passionate about these things. People, if you're going to make a voice, now is the time to do it. She turned red states blue with a tweet. Like, what? And then the Republicans had the nerve to be like, Taylor Swift is ruining politics. And I'm like, don't poke that bear. Don't do it. She will shut down the Republican Party like that. She'll make one album and you'll be dead. You'll be she is the GOAT right now. Do you think she's on a bigger or on a path to be a bigger than like a Michael Jackson level?
See, I've been hearing this lately. Like, I don't know who's making these comparisons. I don't feel like we can compare the two, because like the music world, when Michael Jackson dropped Thriller, the week he dropped it, how many streams did it get on Spotify?
Yeah.
None, because it didn't exist.
Yeah,
we live in two completely different worlds when it comes to music. So it's like, why would I bother to compare them? Like,
I'm just saying of like their influence, their power, what they like, because it's a different beast now with social. If Michael Jackson had social media, it would be interesting to see what the power of a beast could. Like the NFL, which is the most toxic masculinity business of all time, who had a problem with BLM for like the first 2 years and then changed their stance, like is putting on their bio like the day Swift was here. Like, it's great. Like, she shows up, man, and she changes the game. Like, could you imagine if she walked into WWE just one night? Everybody would become wrestling fans like that because of Taylor. Like, she's a megastar.
Yeah, she babysat for Jeff Jarrett, apparently.
Did she really?
Yeah, that's the thing. You look up pictures and stuff, and yeah. I think he's talked about it recently. So, but we said before we started not to say nothing that'll get you canceled, but this one might be the one to get me canceled. I would argue that Taylor Swift has more influence now than Michael Jackson would have at his peak.
I would agree.
I'm just gonna leave it at that. I mean, it's arguable. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. You think of like music wise, you have Prince and Freddie Mercury, but like the big ones you think about is like how people went for the Beatles, how people went for Michael. Like, I don't think, and I'm not trying to put like gender into it, but like, I don't think there's been anyone on the level of a Taylor Swift, like for people that like people have flocked to like this. Like this is a pop culture phenomenon moment that we're having right now. Like, it's a big deal.
I think it's more important to appreciate it as such rather than to compare it about, the prior ones. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
let's just live in the Swift era for a little bit. I'm not, and
listen, let's go to the seance at the concert.
Just like wrestling, right? It doesn't matter who's the best wrestler. It really doesn't. And I agree with that. It shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter who's the best musician. I don't care who's I don't care who's more talented. Or if we're taking all facets of being a celebrity or a pop star or whatever, like, you have to factor all of it in. Like, so I'm not saying she's better than Michael Jackson or any shit like that. I'm just saying you gotta look at it, objectively.
It's who people connect to. And they are connecting to her, and that's the biggest thing. Yeah, it may not be your style of music, it may not be your style of performance, but that many people who are just shutting down, like, she's selling out. Like, we're not saying like, oh, maybe a couple extra seats here and there. Like, she is shutting. There's more at the Philadelphia show. There was so many people in that stadium. and then there was just as many in the parking lot
I was
just
one
to
of the ones in the
listen.
stadium.
That is bananas. So we're going to compare that to WrestleMania this season. We'll tie it to wrestling, where they're doing a 3-day package now. Like they've already announced almost a year ago that WrestleMania is coming to Philly, and it's not sold out yet. 2 days. If that was Taylor Swift, 2 days in Philly, which has already been done, sold out days.
She sold out 3. Like,
Yeah,
she sold out 2 immediately and had to put on another show. Sold that shit out. Like,
yeah.
Taylor Swift is bigger than wrestling. There's no, like, objectively,
she's bigger than most things right now, which is it's insane. It's a cool pop. I love talking pop
football,
culture.
that's for sure. Do you know if you go on NFLshop.com, you cannot get a custom Chiefs jersey? You can't. And that doesn't happen for any other team. So Taylor Swift probably has the top selling jersey in the NFL. You think about it. That's custom jerseys. It means they ran out of the shit to even make them. Like, that's crazy.
I wonder if there's like actual, right? You know how a player swap jerseys and they're like, hey, you can get extra ones, but they cost you, like, you know how that whole, like, I wonder if Chiefs are like right now, like, hey, listen, do not trade your jerseys after games because we can't make you any. I wonder if that's like a legit thing happening right now, or they're like, we cannot. Taylor Swift is dominating the game right now for us. Do not trade your jersey because we can't get you a replacement.
I don't know.
That story will probably come out.
I was trying to get one for myself, and I just can't do it.
What number would you put on?
You go 13 as their favorite number.
Okay, there you go. See, I'm not a big
thing in the Swiftie community.
Is number 13?
Yeah,
love it. What's your favorite? All right, so as someone who's never listened to a full Taylor Swift album, so let's say we're gonna do a review of a Taylor Swift album. We're gonna record it the whole 9. I'm gonna do it for my other content. What album would your pick be? Or you would tell me to go listen to front to back?
So the album that made me a Swiftie was 1989. I walked into an FYE looking for something. I don't remember, but like that was the weekend that album dropped, and they were just playing it all the way through. And I just kept in my head being like, wow, this song's kind of a banger. Oh, well, this song's kind of a banger too. Oh shit, this song is definitely a banger. And I walked out with the CD. Like I wasn't intending to buy it when I walked in there. But so I would say that is the one I would start with. It's not my favorite album. It's just the one that I'd start with.
What's your favorite?
Mine is Folklore. I wouldn't start with Folklore. It's not necessarily getting. It's kind of a departure more than some of the other albums.
Okay. What makes that one stand out for you?
What's that?
What makes that one stand out for you?
It's just first, a lot of it is just like made up stories. She's not singing about herself in most of them. It's just like it's literal folklore. They're just telling stories. And
people overanalyze it, like, what guy is it this time?
Yeah. Bit of a concept album. It was also it was the COVID album. She dropped it as a surprise during COVID. And it's sad. It's just a real sad, like it's a
timepiece thing.
Yeah. You got to be in the mood for it. That's why I wouldn't say start with Folklore, because you're just like, oh shit, this girl's really sad. But no, like I think 1989 that, or even Midnights, is a good sense to just like get the vibe.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to listen to it. And if I want to record a full album, you're going to come back on and we'll do a Taylor Swift album review?
Absolutely.
All right. Cool.
I had a podcast a few years ago, the Robb Radcast. But the first episode had Killian McMurphy, and it just happened to be the weekend that Reputation dropped. So the podcast just was a track for track review of Reputation. So I'm down to talk Taylor anytime.
All right. We'll book that for a future piece of content. I'm pumped. That's my thing, is like with this, like kind of rebranding myself and figure out what I want to do in 2024. I love pro wrestling, but I also want to I miss a lot, traveling and doing everything you're supposed to do. You miss a lot of opportunities to go to the movies or enjoy time with friends or sit down and listen to an album. And I want to get back into that, but so I want to just like, hey, this is not a movie or an album I would technically listen to or I would seek out, but it means something to somebody else. So I'm going to seek it out and see if I can just see what's going on with it. You know what I mean? I think it's a lot of fun. Just a quick plug to your fellow goons there. Go check out Birds on Film. Great channel. They're killing it. Those movie reviews are a lot of fun.
Yeah, you just skip it.
Skip it.
The one bird is all right. Eric is great.
Yeah, great bird. I mean, listen, she makes the show.
They refuse to have me on. I should have made that a stipulation for my match with Dust, is that they got to put me on Birds.
Well, what movie would you want to review with them?
Ninja Turtles from 1990.
Okay, the first one.
Yep, the first one.
What did you? We're on the turtle talk. Let's stick with. What did you think of the new movie?
New movie's awesome. I've seen it 4 times in the theater and then an additional twice on Paramount Plus.
What's your favorite point of the movie? Like what for you? Like what has you most excited for it, or what the most like for the future of the movie?
I'm really excited at the idea of the Ninja Turtles going to high school. That's just. I don't know why I'd never thought that before until I saw it in the movie. I was like, oh, I'm really excited about this. And 34 years of being a Ninja Turtle fan, I had never even gave them a second thought of, oh, they should go to school.
Yeah, when I put it on, I was like, all right, I love the art style. And then I was like, okay, they changed the story up a little bit. Like, this is not the traditional turtle origin story. And then I was like, wait, no Shredder? And I was like, I'm gonna hate this. And then I kept watching. I'm like, wait, this is the first time we've seen the Turtles, the teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but they're like 13. They're fresh teenagers. They don't know how to fight yet. They don't know how to be a team yet. They are just
voice ain't even broke yet.
Yeah, like they have little kid voices. Their ninja skills is for them to go out and hide in society and not to fight crime yet. Like it's a cool new dynamic of the franchise, and then introducing the mutation into it that will spawn the rest of the villains going forward. Like I can't wait to watch and listen to those voice actors age and grow and the animation grow with it. Like I hope this franchise sticks around for the next 10 years.
We'll see. Hopefully, I guess. I mean, rumor has it they're gonna do like a TV show on Paramount or whatever. But
that'd be perfect.
It's also one of the big takeaways from it for me is it is the best visualization or characterization of Leonardo being a leader. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like in most Ninja Turtle media, we're just given he's the leader. But he never actually like seems like a leader to me. He just kind of seems like, like a teacher's pet or whatever. This one, he actually leads shit and feels like a leader.
Yeah, I totally agree with that too. And we even really got to the point where him and Raph butt heads, or because every time it's always like, well, why is Raph and Leo butt heads? Like this franchise can like explore that. You know what I mean? And like, man, I love the Turtles, and I've never been more excited for the Turtles than I probably am now with this new franchise and the way they're going to go with it, because I think I'm just excited to grow with it as a 36-year-old man. I want to grow with the Child's franchise again. That like means a lot to me as a kid growing up. Like for me, I love the Turtles, but I'm a Casey Jones all day long. I love Casey Jones. I can't wait till he's introduced into the story. Yeah. Like I'm pumped.
We'll so pumped.
We haven't seen Shredder.
Casey Jones, a hit or miss character. He's really cool in the movie, like the first movie. In the cartoon, he's kind of a dork. Like I can't, because I recently like binged the cartoon. It's like, man, Casey Jones actually kind of sucks.
Yeah, he was definitely the Casey from the movie. Does it for you?
Yeah, oh yeah, he's the fucking coolest. I mean. Like that when you're a kid, like that's kind of your lesson as this is what cool is fucking Casey Jones.
Like everyone wants Casey's dick. Like he is. Yeah. Don't bring your girl around Casey. Yeah, Casey was like the Shawn Michaels of the Turtles franchise for us as a kid.
Badass.
Yeah,
Elias Cadius, or however you pronounce it, guys. That's it.
Did he ever do anything after the Turtles movies?
Oh, he's like actually a very like well like renowned like actor. Like he actually isn't like super proud of his like the Ninja Turtle. Like he's not like ashamed of it, but no, he's in a lot of shit. He's a very
I have
good
to look
actor.
that up. That's a fun thing to do too with the pop culture thing. Is like find someone from a movie and just be like, where are they? Like, I should seek out other things they did besides this movie. Like that, I love talking. I could talk pop culture all day. You at one point in time were doing that. You were talking everything but professional wrestling. You had your own content on the High Tension Wrestling Network. This is in February. Who knows if anything pops up for that? But what inspired that piece of content, and is it something you would like to bring back?
It was basically it was actually the goons talking a lot about, man, I hate doing wrestling podcasts.
I got the boring shit out of the way first, and then we're cooking.
And then I was like, God, I kind of just wanted to, I was also getting back into wrestling. We talked about, I took a year off. And when I came back, I didn't necessarily come back in the circle that I had left. I came back, with the goons, and it's a completely different worldview, new people. And I wanted to get to know people, and I don't care to know people like wrestling, like through their wrestling. Like I know them through that. I can watch them wrestle. But like, I just want to talk about, other shit that makes us tick, like.
That's probably one of my favorite things to do at like the High Tension locker room is like if I'm going to a High Tension show and I can finally make one, I'm like, oh, there was like 3 new horror movies that came out. I can't wait to see Shay. Like, you know what I mean? Because I know that's my horror movie person. Oh, Turtles, where's Pinhead? Where's Rob? Like, you know what I mean? Like you find your niche of people of like, I can go talk to them about other things besides the world of professional wrestling. Like Danielle, like the first time I seen her, I looked back, she had the dopest fucking Goldust jacket I've ever seen in my life. And then ever since I'm like, yo, where do you get your merch and your t-shirts? Because I'm like a t-shirt person. And then she was doing her shirts of the day. I'm like, where do I get that? like it's cool to find your people and have that common ground within wrestling, but not always about wrestling.
Yeah. Because me and Eel could talk. Eel O'Neill, we could talk wrestling all day. We got group chats for that. No one wants to hear me and Eel O'Neill talk about wrestling because, like, what? Why?
I would
just
like
watch
to hear
me
that.
wrestle. So yeah, we're gonna talk about the Batman or whatever, or we're doing a movie review. Me and Shay are gonna talk about Taylor Swift. Me and Erica are gonna talk about junk food. Like, I want to know otherworldly shit about people in wrestling.
Yeah. What else do you have going on that maybe we didn't cover? Sorry, there's a little bit of delay. I don't mean to step on you.
Oh, you're good. So by the time this comes out in February, who knows? Maybe I'll have brought the podcast back. I'm thinking about it. It's just a matter of doing it. So there's that. I do a theater exercise once a month at the Kent County Theater Guild in Dover, Delaware. Check that out. It's called POP. That's kind of it right now, man. I'm
custom shoes, kind of diving into that a little bit.
Sneakers. I love painting on some Jordans. I just made these. These were all white when I started. Action figures.
Is there any figures coming out, or that maybe they're out but you haven't had a chance to copy yet? Like what's on the list of something you really want?
Oh, tons. I'm a little behind on my figure collecting. Usually I like pre-order everything I want, but holidays coming up, stuff like that. The new Asuka Ultimate looks really cool.
Does she come with a big jacket this time?
Usually, like I don't know. They show the render, right? But which is like the computer graphic image, but they don't always include like the soft, like the fabric stuff when they show the renders. So there's no way to know. But I can't imagine they wouldn't have.
Have they ever come out with a figure for her that has the big jacket?
No, but that's why I'm assuming like that. That's why they have an Ultimate. line is for stuff like
Mhm,
that. Like
mhm.
you can see Charlotte doesn't have many action figures because her robes are so extravagant, but she's got that ultimate with the badass robe. Um,
Mhm.
and because it costs money to make all those different colored fabrics and shit for toys. So, um, but yeah,
Well,
that
here's
one
a
looks really
quick
cool.
WWE question for you. How fucking dope is that stable that people hated on for so long looking now? That Damage Control. It's a sick stable right now.
Oh yeah, I didn't see SmackDown anywhere, but they look badass in a picture together. I'll tell you that much.
Well, I didn't watch. I just
Um,
seen that. I don't want to spoil it. Did you see who? I don't know. Did they officially join or
oh,
not?
what's that?
Oscar. Oscar supposedly they're saying that she may have joined Damage Control.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of that's the impression that's been given.
and eventually they push Bailey out, and then we hear Hugger Bailey music. That would be that's gonna be the biggest pop in wrestling again, right? Babyface Bailey coming back.
I don't know that even if she's a baby face, that she'll be Hugger. I'm sure people will
I,
want that, but
I think if that music hits again, people would lose their shit.
maybe she has the music. I don't know
Yeah.
that she reverts. I have a theory, and I'm going to share it on a wrestling podcast because I'm high right now.
Yeah.
But I
I
have a
love that for
theory
you.
that Bailey's character trajectory has just been puberty.
Okay.
So when she started, side ponytail, she's like a little kid, right? Just in awe of everything. Then she turns heel and, new haircut, nose piercing, and like all her humor, like stupid idiot, is like,
Rebellious teen.
yeah, like that's just puberty. So I, based on that theory, I think if she turns baby, she's just a more grown adult than
I love that. I love
that's just
Bailey. She's another one. I just root for her. I want the world for Bailey. I never met her or anything, but I hope she's a fucking dope person because she's like I
she's
very yeah
I,
love
I
Bailey, babe.
I have an autograph from her around here somewhere. She wrote, "You're my role model."
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Who's been one of your favorite people you've met? You met a
Um,
lot.
Kevin Nash. He,
Really?
yeah, he. I am a big "I Think You Should Leave" fan,
Yes.
and so Tim Robinson has another show called Detroiters. It was a Comedy Central show. I think it's on Paramount now. Um, but Kevin Nash plays Tim Robinson's father in that show. So when I
I have
met
to seek this
Kevin
out.
Nash, I said, "Hey man, loved you in Detroiters." He's like, he starts lighting up and he's like, "Oh man, I had so much fucking fun on that show." And all kinds of shit. And then I had him sign my Super Shredder action figure. He already had like a green paint pen there, so he knew the fucking deal. He knew what was up. And then so also this was at SummerSlam in Detroit. So since we were in Michigan, we got some of his weed line, and I got one of his pre rolls. Had him sign one of those. And then as we're walking away, and this is how personable he was. Usually, it's kind of meet someone and then you're next in line, but he's still chatting us up, and he's like, hey, you know what the best thing to have when you're smoking that is? I was like, what? He's like, you go somewhere when you're on your way home, stop at a McDonald's. Get you a double quarter pounder with cheese. I was like, man, you're speaking exactly my language because it's not like I ain't done that, but yeah. But then we started like gushing about how great a double quarter pounder with cheese is when you're high.
Yeah.
It was a blast. Actually, so Scott Hall, we met him at a convention at the big event like 4 years ago or something like that. And that night we left the convention and I went to Outbreak to have a ladder match. Not the one with the hanging, but I had a 3-way ladder match with Andy Header and someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're at this meet and greet, And I tell Scott Hall, and I never when I do meet and greets, I think maybe that's my line of separation. She's like, I'm never like, hey, I'm a wrestler too. But I was like, hey, man, I never do this. But like, I have my first ladder match tonight, and I've been watching like your ladder matches just to kind of study up on them. Like, I just want to tell you how astonished I am by how well they are. He lights up. He's like, oh, let me tell you the psychology of a ladder match. And just like dives deep into it. And he's like, yeah, and then a cage match, you want to do this. It was awesome. Scott Hall was like one of the best meet and greets.
That's my favorite match, WrestleMania 10 ladder match.
What's that?
The WrestleMania 10 ladder match is my favorite match of all time. Yeah. That's the figure I want. The 2-pack that's coming out.
Oh, yeah. I got that on pre-order.
Yeah, I probably have to get that secondhand out on the market, but that's on the list. Well, we hit the hour mark. We could be here all day. We both got shit to do. We need to touch base again, do this more often, not even on the wrestling side. So I always tell people, like, listen, the origin story, that's just the premise of the ABJ podcast. But, like, when you come back, we don't have to talk about any of that shit ever again. Just get that out of the way. And then the second half is usually if you're a wrestling fan, you'll love the first half. The second half is when I get to open up with the guests and we really cut loose. And that's where I think the other stuff, like the movie reviews and music reviews, I think that's where really it's going to shine, where I can bring people in kind of how you were talking and talk about the things you want. I appreciate you doing this. I love you to death, man. Anything else that we didn't cover that you want to talk about, where people can support you and find you?
No, you can go to at Robb Radke, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all that stuff. You can go to swoprowrestling.com to get, some Robb Radke merch, including this very fine t-shirt I got on right now, me choking out my former best friend, Big Dust. But yeah,
this shirt here is the fire one. I love this one.
That one too, made by JCP Designs. Very talented.
So that is 100% you as a Punch-Out character.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. That's the inspiration behind it.
Yes, I love that so much, dude. Honestly, like when I want to go on a movie real quick, my biggest pop home movie is when they're in the very beginning of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, when they're at the Punch-Out Cafe, and I have all the photos of the Punch-Out people on the wall. I'm like, oh my god, they can take this universe in so many direct. Could you imagine a Punch-Out like Rocky inspired animated movie of Little Mac? I fucking need that in my life.
Yeah, could be cool.
I hope Nintendo gets their shit together and puts together a universe, because God, would it be amazing? Luigi's Mansion with Charlie Day? Give me that. Well, listen, I'm not going to dive into more movie talk because we'll be here for the 3 hours. Guys, thank you so much for joining in here on the ABJ podcast. We have so much more coming up. Pretty soon, these will be more current, I promise. Just let me get into this time to kind of build this backlog up, get my life in order and everything going back. Mentally, I feel amazing. I'm in a good spot. This helps being with my friends and talking and letting you guys see all this. But pretty soon it will be more current, and we'll have more people on a more live basis. But that'll do it for the ABJ podcast. Please remember to check the links below. Follow Rob on all social media. Go buy that merchandise and support the hell out of him. And follow that Instagram page. A lot of cool stuff there. You get to see a lot of his traveling, his journeys, and all of his creativity stuff that he's doing with his figures and the photography side of things. That'll do it for the ABJ podcast. Here's some music by the Converse Kid. We'll see you next time.